When we fully realised and understood that we could be more than a festival, using our kind of narrative and our theatre and our sort of way of storytelling to be able to bring about these shifts in the way that potentially people think is a really powerful thing. Are we rolling?
Hey, I'm Chris. I'm co-founder and director at Boomtown.
I'm Lac, and co-founder and director at Boomtown.
I'm Anna, I'm one of the directors at Boomtown Fair.
How did Boomtown start? Well, we were both independently doing different events and had been working with Anna on a freelance basis. We finally managed to encourage her to kind of move down and join us permanently in Bristol.
All the three of us were collectively working on things within the festival industry or the events industry, in clubs, in free festivals. We are a living theatre that ignites imagination and inspires emergence of a better world through creativity, connection and celebration, you know, and I think it took us a while to get to that point, but ultimately that is us.
Yeah, as like I said, that's taken us years to get to. We've like played around with different versions of that, and that's our tagline essentially. Boomtown is so many things to so many different people, and like even the people that work on it, all of us at HQ, it's like it means something different to all of us. You know, we've got our theatre team and what they're doing, pushing the boundaries, and that level is amazing. And then we've got the music side of things, which is just beyond incredible. Like, oh God, the things that those guys discover is just beyond anything. And then we've got the production, we've got the operation side. So everybody even that works on it, it means something different. So now we kind of understand just what the melting pot of Boomtown is. Hopefully that means that more people will start understanding what we're about.
So Boomtown has got 6 pillars: respect yourself, respect each other, respect your planet.
And then we've also got creativity, connection and celebration as well. So all of those 6 pillars are absolutely underlying all of our decision-making processes, how we want to represent ourselves, how we want our crew to kind of feel, and how we want people that come to the festival feel as well. So essentially they're the pillars for how we can build our community.
The ideas for the festival, for the creative side of the festival, I suppose, are just maybe myself and Chris might come up with an angle that we want to take, and then we bring in a wider team and that sort of filters down, and we just almost just kind of let it roll and see what happens, don't we?
Yeah, it's always quite current about what's going on, and normally we'll have a little poke at society and just like a little prod of what's you know what's current.
Sometimes a bit too closely, like the name of our show this year was State of Emergency, and it was all framed around a virus pandemic that shut down Area 404.
As ecosystems continue to degrade worldwide, we go live to the heart of Old Town, where demonstrations continue.
Sometimes we do cut it a bit too close to the bone. I think that that's a lot to do with like the theatre team and the story developers, and how those guys kind of really write the narrative and deepen it a lot. And it is really collaborative once the idea is kind of set, and it normally comes from the title name, doesn't it? Which we put up at the end of one event, and then you kind of start rolling on the next year, and then have big creative meetings where everyone just kind of chucks their ideas in, and then that kind of gets finessed over time.
We see what the audience want, and the audience can take it in a different direction as well. Sometimes we come up with a theme, and we have to plan 2 or 3 years ahead as well, the themes often. But we have all these plans, and then all of a sudden at the last minute we'll take it in a different direction because of what the audience want.
My favourite moments of pretty much every festival are when, as soon as the gates open and people flood in and they're kind of running around with their camping gear on and sitting on top of the hippie highway, seeing the excitement on people's faces, and like they can see stages in the background, they can see the streets, they can see all the actors and everything welcoming in. So that's quite always a special moment for all of us.
When we first understood what we could do with the opening ceremonies on the main stages was a really powerful moment as well, because it's a time where the whole audience comes together and we can put forward a message. Something we did really simple last year is we just asked everyone to put their hand on the next person's shoulder, and seeing 40,000 people do that was mind-blowing, wasn't it? Just that connection.
It's also about like that sense of childlike exploration and kind of wonderment again. People just don't know what to expect and they'll turn a corner, and like the way that they're designed, it's to kind of draw people into it even more. So you'll see a whole street and then you'll see a little peek of something around that corner, so you want to go down that street to find out what's around that corner, and then you've got all the actors enticing you to knock on doors and try everything, and you know,
see what into a doorway,
and playing and just letting people be quite childlike and free and play, and kind of bring that back into adult life, which kind of unfortunately goes a little bit, doesn't it? So I think that's one of the things that we really want to encourage, is just that feeling of freedom that you get from just ultimate play and discovery in that way.
The site is a really incredible, unique place, and we've found a way of really enhancing its beauty, nestling stages in valleys, and just the way that the audience can look down at different points creates a whole other dynamic. We love the idea of bringing all the senses into the experience, to be able to walk into districts, as we call them, and navigate through the sights, the smells, the sounds, the laughter, the bass lines rumbling in the background, all of that you get, that you kind of, you don't even know where to look.
Yeah, it takes a lot to put on the festival. I think we've got about 17,000 people.
Crew, artists and guests, 17,000.
Which work on the show in some capacity, are there? We've got a theatrical department, music department, production, a site, operations, communications, accessibility. Yeah. I've not missed anyone, have I?
Planning and licensing.
Yeah.
And that's just in the HQ teams as well. Yeah. That's from the 45, 50 of us that work all year round on it. And then when we get to site.
Yeah, and then we've got a workshop that we build all the sets, and creative and design managers. With the theatre team, there's like hundreds of performers and actors, and then there's all the walkabouts. It's quite an immense team, really.
It's so hard to kind of pull out individuals as being the heroes, because I think everybody and anybody that dedicates their life to working on events is a hero.
What are your experiences with brand partners?
Because Boomtown's fully independent, we haven't really partnered up with many brands over the years. However, the brands that we have worked with over the years, we've found that actually when it's been the most successful, it's because it's really aligned in terms of production values, but also in terms of what that brand stands for and what we stand for. In one of the cases that when we worked with Jaeger, and we had the Jaeger house, which was a really interactive, kind of quite fun space, like tucked away in little woodlands. It looked a little bit like a Hansel and Gretel house, didn't it? That worked in that way, and that's the kind of thing that we would always want to do. So it's not too intrusive, it doesn't take away from the customer experience, it doesn't feel like a big billboard in the middle of the festival. It's just quite nicely kind of subtly works in absolute harmony with what we're trying to produce, because the last thing we would ever want Boomtown to turn into is one immersive advert, which would just be awful for everybody. So COVID has taught us a huge amount. It's actually really hard to kind of even think back to kind of February time when things were kind of going normal, making those decisions for the first ever time to cancel the event. I mean, obviously we kind of knew we had to, but at the same time it was just like, oh, we've never done this before and we never wanted to, and that was really difficult. And then all the staff that work, or the external crew, or the course, so it's been a really, really hard journey, and a lot of lessons learned. As we said earlier, it's like we as a team have gone through this massive roller coaster, but has essentially brought us a lot closer. But I think one of the positives and the silver linings that we would absolutely take from it would be this unbelievably unique and rare opportunity to pause properly for the first time ever and really take stock of where we are. And like, you know, Boomtown has grown so fast, so fast. The first year I worked on it was 3,000, the next year it was 8,000, the next year it was 15,000, then it was 20,000. It's just, and now it's 66,000, and like, you know, it's been an exponential growth, and with that comes very little time to kind of take stock and make significant changes. And I think that's what we've learned from this year, hugely. Refinement, yeah. Well, also just kind of going back to the drawing board as well, and just kind of like, what do we want to keep, what works, what doesn't work, and getting a chance to speak to our customers. We ran like loads of focus groups, which was amazing and so valuable.
So we took this really bold decision this year to actually not release the lineups ahead of the festival, because we have always been about the experience and about the creativity and creating this environment, and then come based on that.
So for the 2021 event that we launched back in October, we've actually taken stock and gone right back, and we're chapter 1 again, and it's called The Gathering. One of the things we realised is that obviously gatherings were the first things to be like outlawed, I guess, this year. And if we are able to all come back together in 2021, like that idea of true connection and being with people in celebration and creativity and all of those pillars will be so important to actually what we all experience in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, gatherings have been, part of human connection for thousands of years. Like coming together, connecting and storytelling and passing on knowledge, so for our version of a post-pandemic world, which we're building with Boomtown, to really come back to that kind of true meaning. Just imagining the energy and excitement when we put this festival on, and just those dance floors are just going to go off on it.